I started my channel roughly 16 months ago and have since cleared 16 shoot 'em ups. I thought it would be fun to rank these shooters in terms of fun factor and difficulty in getting a 1 credit clear, so let's get started. Kicking off with Lords of Thunder for the Sega CD. What an awesome game. It controls really well, is super fun to play and has fantastic music. Its aesthetics and fantasy setting are also a nice change compared to the typical space shooters of the time. Add to that a story told through 6 minutes worth of narrated cutscenes and 4 distinct playable characters called armors to choose from. Overall, just a very complete package. The 7 stages themselves are quite varied, though the themes of each stage are standard fare, like you have your desert, ice, forest levels, etc. But there's verticality mixed in there, different obstacles to overcome, sections that speed up, plus enough enemy variety that make levels feel distinct. Though the bosses are a bit hit and miss for me and most are complete pushovers, which is somewhat of a letdown. I would say an A- on the fun factor scale. In terms of difficulty, I cleared the game on hard with all 4 armors and without much effort. There's just not a lot of challenge here, at least not in this Sega CD version of the game. So what makes this game easy? Well, there is the obvious health bar allowing you to take multiple hits, and the shop in between levels selling health items, power-ups and even shields. Your close range sword is also too powerful, though you have to get in pretty close to use it. But that is where the bomb comes in. Using a bomb will make you invulnerable for quite long, allowing some risk-free use of that sword. And this sword plus bomb combo can really melt the bosses in record time. Getting hit also gives you a bit of invulnerability, preventing you from taking consecutive damage in quick succession. The original PC Engine version is not so forgiving and has a way weaker sword, making it better balanced than the Sega CD version. This one is going into the easy bucket, but still very much worth your time. Next up is Gley Lancer for the Sega Mega Drive. People seem to love this game, but I found it to be an above average shooter at best. Definitely not among the greats of the 16-bit era. It has very poor bullet visibility. Just check out stage 1 with its asteroid field. Also in a lot of sections you're just sitting there with no real reason to move, so it gets a bit boring at times. Bosses are also pretty bland, with very basic attack patterns. The visuals, level design, enemy design, it's all pretty average and nothing really stands out. Well, except for the music, which is pretty awesome. Especially the boss theme, that really gets me pumped each time it starts. At the start of the game, you do get to choose from a wide variety of option formations, including circling around your ship like in Thunder Force, following you as in Gradius, or homing in on enemies. This is all pretty cool and it's nice to try out the various options here. But I don't think the levels are well designed for this much choice, making some areas trivial or frustratingly difficult depending on the options formation you picked. The search, aka homing, options circumvent this problem entirely. This does make the game too easy, even if it does sometimes lead to tense gameplay or cheap deaths, when they target on something stupid like a dead enemy. I rate Gley Lancer a B- on a fun factor scale, and an easy 1cc on normal difficulty, but not quite as easy as Lords of Thunder on hard. Moving on to Drainus, released in 2022 on PC. This game is just fantastic all the way around. For starters, the visuals. Just look at it. It's absolutely stunning. The controls are tight and precise, and the game feels great to play. The main gameplay mechanics are the shop-based upgrade system and the guard mechanic allowing you to absorb enemy fire and shoot it back at them in the form of homing lasers. Note that you cannot absorb projectile-based attacks, only energy-based attacks. All the levels, the enemies and the bosses are all designed around this core absorb and reflect concept. It's super well implemented and a lot of fun to interact with. The shop, on the other hand, I'm not that enthusiastic about. Sure, it allows for a wide array of different configurations to play with, which is cool, but there's a lot to unlock and choose from, so I feel you spend too much time in the shop breaking the rhythm of the game. This is especially true outside of arcade mode, where you can enter the shop anytime you want. The game does introduce a brilliant concept for controlling ship speed. At any time you can pull up a speed selection wheel to dial in whatever speed level you want for your high and low speed. More games should copy this, as it's much more elegant than speed power-ups or having to cycle through different speeds using a shift up and down button. The music and sound effects get the job done, but nothing that really stands out in this area. Still, I had a lot of fun playing Drainus, and it's a solid A+ game for me. Unfortunately, the game is on the easy side and the shop system is partially responsible for this. You get quite a lot of invulnerability when using a bomb, and you can upgrade your bullet absorption bar way too much. So the further you get in the game, the easier it gets, as you unlock more powerful weapons and more semi-invulnerability through being able to absorb enemy fire for longer. I feel this hurts the game's replayability factor. So another easy once and see, but only if you shop responsibly. Elemental Master, released in 1990 for the Sega Mega Drive. Developed by Technosoft, but this ain't no Thunderforce game in terms of quality. While the music is top notch, the sound effects from your weapons are quite bland and drown out the excellent music. I really like that this is a vertical ground-based shooter, as you really need more of those. It also has a medieval fantasy setting, where similar to Lords of Thunder you control a knight and not a spaceship. You can shoot either forwards or backwards, and there's a nice weapon variety. The first 4 stages each give you a new weapon that all have a unique charge shot. Then there are shield and mirror pickups, where the latter give you mirror images that shoot with your default weapon. There are no power-ups to collect for upgrading weapons, which I find rather refreshing. The bosses look impressive, but most are rather boring. Also, why is there a giant-sized hedgehog as a boss? Overall, this game plays really well, but it's not fun enough to keep replaying. It's also on the easy side and rather forgiving, as there's a ton of health and shield pickups. Still recommendation based on its soundtrack alone. It gets a B, as I find it more enjoyable than Gley Lancer. And yet another easy 1cc. Though slightly more challenging on its hard setting compared to the other easy 1cc's thus far. Super XYX, released in 2020 on PC. I freaking love this game. I know it's not perfect and has issues, but this is my most played shoot 'em up. It's the most fun I've had so far with a shooter, and it served as my gateway to the shmup genre as a whole. I absolutely adore the graphical style of this game, and it has great music too. The gameplay is where I feel the game excels. All your shots have real weight and impact to them. It's so satisfying taking out hordes of enemies. There's overall little downtime during each stage, and the stages have a good difficulty progression to them. The first stage is also interesting enough that replaying it doesn't become annoying. Enemy bullet patterns are varied and well done. The bosses all look cool, though most can be cheesed through safe spots and bullet sealing. It would have been nice if they all had some patterns to force you to keep moving. There are also quite some unlockables and no less than 7 ships to choose from, that each have quite a different feel to them. And there's also a TLB or a true lost boss at the end. At some point you will unlock Super Arcade mode, which is just so exhilarating to play. It's like the base game turned up to 11. It's only 3 stages, it's way harder, but it's double the fun. Super XYX is truly an awesome and S-tier game for me, but with a minus due to its flaws. Now this is not a hard game, but it is a lot more challenging than the games I've ranked so far. I mentioned before that most bosses can be trivial when exploiting safe spots. While this does not hold for the TLB, it too can be cheesed when abusing bomb invulnerability, as bombs give you way too much invulnerability. And you get 2 free bombs after each stage. The game is also pretty generous with lives, as I ended my no-death run with a total of 9 lives left in stock. So I would rank the difficulty in getting a 1cc in Super XYX as normal, though depending on what character you actually choose, this can become an easy or hard 1cc. The last character that was added, Taurus Alpha, is way overpowered. Super strong homing shots plus missiles with massive explosions. On top of that, it has by far the best bomb in the game, providing a ridiculous 5 seconds worth of invincibility. That's absolutely insane, and it makes the game easy to clear. At the other end of the spectrum is Yellow Jacket, who feels like a joke, so kind of meme character. She shoots cool looking lasers, but they are frustratingly inconsistent in killing enemies, as the laser arcs in weird ways, seemingly going out of their way to not hit the popcorn enemy that is literally sitting in front of you. So I would classify using Yellow Jacket to 1cc the game as hard. Battle Mania 2 or Troubleshooter 2 released in 1993 for the Sega Mega Drive. This is an interesting horizontal shooter with a distinct anime style, using big character sprites. It's all a rather light-hearted and silly affair, but fun to play nonetheless. Mind you, there's no real longevity here, as the gameplay itself is rather simple and lacks challenge. You start out with 3 hit points and can earn a lot more by collecting hearts or by scoring. There's also no cap on this, and at some point during my 1cc run I had 25 plus hit points. In the options menu you can choose between 1-way, 2-way or 8-way shooting and select one of 3 drone behaviors. At the start of each level you also get to choose between 4 drones to use on that level, each of which has its own special attack that can be used quite often as its meter continually fills up over time. After stage 1 you're also flanked by a second character that either shoots forward or backwards, which can be controlled through press of a button. There is a lot to like here with its vibrant graphics, distinct stages and good music, but there are some annoyances. There are way too many speed up pickups and the max speed is too high. There are also speed down pickups that sometimes seemingly home in on you with great speed, making them hard to dodge. There are also a few cramped corridors in the game where it's super easy to get stuck behind some scenery and then getting crushed by the ever scrolling screen. This leads to an instant game over regardless of how many hit points you have. And the scoring in this game is completely broken, as you can easily get the max score of 999999 by not even trying. So B+ for fun and by far the easiest 1cc so far. Next up is Devil Blade Reboot, released in 2024 on PC. Man, this shooter is just so epic. The visuals are top notch with its 3D pixel look, and the backgrounds create this sense of depth and skill. Then there are the awesome screen transitions at the start and end of levels. There's just so much care and thought poured into the presentation. And this extends to the enemy designs or how the game visualizes your proximity to enemies, which is important for the Berserk system. The closer you are to an enemy, the higher the score multiplier, and the faster your Berserk gauge will fill. Once full, you enter Berserk mode, increasing the difficulty, but also the score multipliers. You can also sacrifice a bomb to boost your Berserk meter even further. It's a simple risk-reward mechanism that is very fun to interact with. The game has no power-ups, except for bomb and shield pickups, and thank God no speed power-ups. You do have a spread shot and a focus shot at your disposal, where the latter also lowers your ship speed, allowing for more precise movement. The game controls really well and is a joy to play. The way enemy flight paths, lasers and missiles are telegraphed is pretty cool, and allows you to anticipate what's coming. Boss battles are proper multi-phased affairs with interesting bullet patterns. Music and sound effects are great too. There's just nothing to complain about this game, and it gets an S tier ranking from me. Difficulty wise, clearing hard mode was proper hard for me, and a good deal more difficult than Super XYX on normal. Took me about 24 hours give or take to clear. I don't really recall if or how much easier normal mode was, as I didn't play it much. GG Aleste released for the Sega Game Gear in 1991. This got re-released as part of the Aleste collection in 2020. The Nintendo Switch version is what I played, and with all slowdown disabled. The game has a nice weapon variety, some of which can cancel bullets, that along with your main shot can be upgraded multiple levels. The series' signature power-up carriers, that one shot rain down red P items, is also present. Deciding on trying to collect these while avoiding enemy fire, or instead focusing on taking down the enemies fast, is part of what makes playing the series fun. The graphics and sounds are good for a Game Gear game, and while fun for a few playthroughs, it is by far the weakest of the 3 GG Aleste games. It is also a very easy game, especially if you stick with the wave or homing special weapons. The game literally showers you in 1-ups. Hitting 1,000,000 points will grant you a ridiculous 7 lives. I had 20 lives towards the end of the game. The first C tier game and the first very easy 1cc. GG Aleste 2 released 2 years later in 1993. Again, I'm ranking the Nintendo Switch version from the Aleste collection with slowdown disabled. This game is a massive step forwards compared to the original GG Aleste. It is graphically a truly impressive Sega Game Gear game. Gameplay wise, it's much more fierce with faster bullets, bigger bullet spreads and more intense boss fights. It feels as if everything is more zoomed in, leading to an overall more claustrophobic game, with less time and space to dodge and maneuver. The opening stage in particular will kick your ass, and to me is one of the harder levels as you are still very much underpowered. Compared to the first game, this one does not shower you in 1-ups. You still get more than a typical game, but not the ridiculous amounts of the first game. GG Aleste 2 also introduces a shield and bombs, both requiring picking up a set amount of power-up items. Even with a shield active, you can already start collecting power-up items for your next shield, which is a bit too overpowered to be honest. Overall, this game was a pleasant surprise. It's a blast to play, and its short playtime of roughly 20 minutes makes it ideal for a quick game or two, but not something I would soon want to revisit. B+. But where to rank this game in terms of difficulty? It's either the top of the easy list or the bottom of the normal list. But let's go with normal, at least if slowdown is disabled. GT Aleste 3 released in 2020. A brand new game in a series developed for the Aleste collection by the legends at M2. And what a game it is, super impressive given that this has been developed as an actual Sega Game Gear game. Compared to the previous entry, the playfield feels bigger and provides more oversight. You have access to an additional 2 weapons for a total of 7, but you no longer have a bomb. And while the shield remains, it received a slight nerf as you can no longer save up P icons for the next shield while it is active. GT Aleste 3 is quite the looker, and the most visual pleasing and impressive of the bunch. Fantastic pixel art, diverse stages, and creative enemy and boss designs. Audio-wise, it also has the best music with some great catchy tunes. The game does have some bullet visibility issues, where I find the small red and blue bullets hard to see when things get hectic, but otherwise a surprisingly well-made game. I really enjoyed my time working towards a 1cc and will definitely come back to it in the future. An A+ game. This game is a significant ramp up in difficulty compared to the previous entry. Especially the last 2 stages are quite tough and made me rethink my approach, try out other weapons and practice a lot to find new and more consistent strategies. As with the other games in the collection, I disabled all slowdown. This makes certain sections significantly harder, but also more intense and fun to play. Still, it was quite a struggle for me to get the normal clear, so I put this in the hard category, but easier than Devil Blade Reboot on hard. Next up is Thunder Force 3, released in 1990 for the Sega Mega Drive. As with Elemental Master, you can rely on Technosoft to deliver an absolute banger of a soundtrack. And the rest of this shooter is similarly spectacular. Top-notch visuals, buttery smooth gameplay and 0 slowdown. There are 5 weapons to collect that you can cycle through by the press of a button. The weapons have a nice variety, and besides the typical forward and backwards firing weapons, there is a homing weapon called Hunter, a weapon that shoots vertical missiles that travel along the floor and ceiling, plus a wave gun that even travels through obstacles. Next there is the Claw power-up, which are 2 bits that cycle around you, providing some limited protection and further increasing your firepower. And you are an absolute powerhouse when fully powered up, and it feels great to obliterate hordes of enemies. But you do lose all those upgrades on death. Well, at least when playing on hard. As you respawn where you died, and there are a ton of power-ups in each level, it's very manageable to recover from a death. At the very start of the game, you get to select the starting stage out of 4. The stages are well designed, look great, but do have some gotcha moments that require memorization to avoid cheap deaths. I especially like the 7th stage, called Horn Base. It's hectic, claustrophobic, has interesting diagonal scrolling sections, and I really like it. I do have some critiques with the game. For one, I really dislike that you use a button to cycle through weapons and the 4 available ship speeds. These wrap around, meaning you go from the fastest speed to the lowest speed. So I tend to mostly keep it fixed in 3rd speed. The bosses are also a weak point, as most are way too weak and die without much effort, which is a shame as the aesthetics are pretty cool. Mind you, they are a clear step up from all the other Sega Mega Drive shooters we have looked at so far. And finally, the Hunter weapon is way too powerful. It removes most of the need to evade incoming enemies and fire. Still, it's an overall amazing game, and it's just crazy to think Thunder Force 3 is already 35 years old. It's truly a blast to play even today. Difficulty wise, it's pretty easy after some memorization, as the game is very generous with lives and there are plenty of shields to collect that protect you from free hits. So yet another easy clear. Thunder Force AC, released to the arcades at the end of 1990. This is a port of Thunder Force 3 for the Mega Drive. Unfortunately, it's a step down in literally every area: sound, gameplay, graphics and even music. The only positive thing I can say about this version is that it replaced two stages. The ice stage Aleste was replaced with a new asteroid themed stage, and the cave stage Hades was replaced with a stage from Thunder Force 2, which is pretty cool. So if you're a fan of this series, it's worth a playthrough to see those stages, but otherwise avoid. It gets a D ranking. Note that this version is actually a bit easier than the original, as bosses have less health and the hunter weapon is even more overpowered. Thunder Force Spirits, released on the Super Nintendo in 1992. This is a port of Thunder Force AC arcade version and not of the original Sega Mega Drive game. And it's even worse. What the hell did they do to the music? It's completely butchered. The SNES version also has insane slowdown. Once fully powered up, just firing your weapon will result in slowdown. The only nice thing about this version is that it has a completely redone battleship stage. It also has an actual final stage 8 with new bosses. So just for these changes alone, the game is worth a playthrough if you are a fan of the series. But otherwise, just stick with the original Mega Drive version. So overall, a worse port of a not so great port. D- and again an easy clear. Deathsmiles, released to arcades in 2007. Note I'm covering the Nintendo Switch version of Deathsmiles from 2021, which contains the original arcade, Mega Black Label and Xbox 360 modes, 5 additional playable characters and 2 additional soundtracks. Oh, and it also comes with Deathsmiles 2, a ridiculously feature-packed release. At its core, Deathsmiles is a horizontal bullet hell game developed by Cave, where you are able to turn around and thus fire either forwards or backwards. You also have a familiar that fires in the same direction as you and can be positioned to block enemy suicide bullets. The levels and enemy waves are all well designed around these core mechanics, and it's a lot of fun once you get used to the controls. Speaking of which, you have forward and backward, normal and rapid shots, which can all be assigned to individual buttons. Pressing both forward and backward shots buttons triggers your hyper, and holding them triggers your lock-on shot, which also slows down the game, and again can be assigned to a dedicated button. You also have access to bombs, and depending on your character, holding down rapid or normal shot will lock your familiar in place, otherwise it will move around you depending on your own movements. Precise positioning of your familiar to soak up suicide bullets becomes an essential skill at higher difficulties. All in all, it's mechanically more complicated than most other shooters I have played. Deathsmiles has a very distinct visual style with its gothic Halloween theme that really sets it apart from other shoot 'em ups, and I feel it's really done well. There are 6 main stages, 1 or 2 optional stages and a final stage. These are all varied and look great. Of these, the lake, shore and swamp stages are kinda meh, but the final castle stage is just pure awesome. It's super long with unrelenting action and a tough boss at the end. The bosses are also original and very memorable. This game has a very interesting approach to difficulty. Now there are some differences here between the various modes, but in general for each stage you can select what rank to play it on, 1, 2 or 3. Once you select rank 3 for the 5th time you enter death mode, which enables suicide bullets. Going to an extra stage always enables death mode, but going into them with death mode already enabled will enable death mode level 2 for the final stage. This rank system is what makes Deathsmiles so approachable to inexperienced players, yet still providing a good challenge to the super players. I cleared the arcade mode with 4 stages at rank 3 and 2 stages at rank 2, so the highest rank without entering death mode. I would rank the difficulty of such a clear as normal. Rank and especially suicide bullets have a big impact on scoring. But as scoring is rather convoluted in this game, I will not go into it. Besides stating that there are 2 score extents that are both very easy to reach if you do the simple scoring trick in the volcano stage. Pop the hyper near the start and shoot the rocks. That's all. Anyway, this is a great game, held back slightly due to some mediocre stages, overly complicated scoring system, non-memorable music and mechanical complexity. Still a solid A. Raging Blasters, released in 2021 on PC. The visuals might look simple and maybe even primitive to most, but they are cohesive and provide great clarity, as it's never unclear what an enemy or where the enemy bullets are, which is a good thing as the game has a great sense of speed, with its background zipping by and enemy waves coming in hard and fast. I only really disliked the boss designs as they felt uninspired and slapped together in MS Paint. It's pretty neat what this game does with the screen, as it's a typical vertical game that pretends to use the entire horizontal screen width. As in the background fill the entire horizontal width, beyond where your ship is allowed to move. Some enemies also move through this space when entering or leaving a screen, but will not fire from this off-limits area. This sure beats having black bars on the side of the screen. Your ship's main weapon has a straight and wide shot where the latter shoots in all diagonals. There are no bombs and no power-ups except for special weapon pickups. Of these there are 5, and only the yellow wave weapon falls into the anything but that one category. But this is never really an issue as weapon pickups drop all the time, thus you are never long without the weapon you want to use. Controls are tight and super responsive and the game is a joy to play. Gameplay wise, the focus is much more on the shooting than on the dodging. Taking out enemy waves fast and effective while scrambling to catch the crystals they drop. There is really no memorization required here. The music was also surprisingly good with some catchy and uplifting tunes. It really suited the gameplay. While I definitely had fun playing this game, it did not grab me enough to keep replaying. Even though there is a fun 3-minute caravan mode to increase replayability, it's just missing something and I can't really explain what, so I'm rating this a B. The game is very easy, as you respawn on death, there's no real power loss on death, and you gain a lot of extra lives through score extents. I recommend playing on expert as this opens up the gameplay, as even the simplest of waves all fire bullets at you, leading to much tenser moments of weaving through those bullets to grab the crystals. But even then, it's still an easy game. The final game on the list is Gate of Thunder for the PC Engine CD. Released in 1992 by Hudson Soft, it was made by former Technosoft staff that previously worked on the excellent Thunder Force 3 for the Sega Mega Drive. And there are some clear similarities, from the speed select to the green waves weapon, huge bosses, stage hazards, fast-paced scrolling and action, and graphically a true showcase for the system. Oh, and let's not forget about the great soundtrack that is one of the best of the 16-bit era. In my opinion, this game is superior than Thunder Force 3, it just feels better to play and is more intense overall. This is mostly due to the fact that many enemies will come at you from behind, and later stages shower you with enemies. There's also no homing weapon, meaning you will need to dodge a lot more, making for much more engaging gameplay. The weapon system is simplified to just 3 weapons. A piercing blue laser, the familiar green waves with excellent screen coverage, and the red earthquake that is similar to the earth armor in Lords of Thunder. They have 2 power levels and come with 2 bits that stay above and below you instead of circling around you. These bits can be turned around to fire backwards, which is a must in many sections. And then there are missile upgrades, shields and screen clearing bombs, which are triggered by picking up regular weapon power-ups you don't need. If there's anything negative to say, it has to be the fact that the excellent music is way too soft during gameplay. Plus the bosses are again a mixed bag, from trivial to plain annoying to okay-ish and intense. I initially played on normal, which is the default difficulty, which took me about 3 hours or so to clear. Only the last 2 stages giving me some trouble. I immediately jumped into hard mode afterwards, and whoa, the game became so much better. More enemies, especially from behind, that are more aggressive, making the claustrophobic hallways much more intense. It took me quite a bit longer to clear hard mode, but man, what a great time this was. A+, and I would rate the difficulty of hard mode clear as normal. Just go play this game. And that wraps it up. Let's have a look at the final rankings.